Yeah. All right. Good morning. Welcome to everybody. Just before I officially open today's meeting, I just wanted to acknowledge the Waters family. A huge condolences from the Aboriginal Council, myself, and everyone in the community, to Lionel, to Alex and Don, the tragic loss of their daughter and sister Katie. I spoke to Miles yesterday, and he said that the love and support coming out of the Denny area has been a huge comfort to them all. All right, 22nd moment in time. Okay, Edinburgh River Council wishes to advise members of the public that council meetings will be recorded and will be available after each meeting on council's website. All care will be taken to maintain the privacy of those in attendance. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event your image is broadcast. This includes any filming by television cameras if attendance is approved by the General Manager. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that we are here today on the land of the Wamberal people. I would also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to past Aboriginal elders, present Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within this area. Statement of purpose. I have come here as a council freely and authorised to represent the views of the community in considering the matters before us today, to vote in a matter I consider to be in the best interest of the community, to observe the code of conduct and respect the rule of the chair and the views of my fellow councillors. Thank you. Okay. For those who don't know, former councillor, apologies, leave of absences.
Leave of absence from Councillor Mark Pearson today. Mover and seconder to accept that.
All those in favour? Confirmation of minutes. We have a mover.
There was an error in the minutes that came through that stated I attended the dinner that was held with Keith Pitt, the dinner that you asked you did not attend. We'll make those adjustments through Madam. We'll make those adjustments thank you.
Minutes. Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Cutton. All those in favour? Aye. Confirmation of minutes disclosures.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in item 11.1, consideration of superannuation. Central Country University Centre in Deniliquin, when my husband was the author and signature of the letter of support.
Any other note? Council. Alrighty. 11.1. Council Country University Centre in Melbourne.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This is a report that's come about from some discussions with Country University Centre and Murray Irrigation and Interreach, who are all quite supportive of bringing about the momentum for potentially a Country University Centre in Nilluquin. There was an inquiry of the state government that one of the recommendations that was accepted by the government from that inquiry was to reach out to the Country University Centre and get their opinion about where future sites could be built. And it's my understanding that that two of the possible suggestions, one of which is Nilluquin. So we've written this report to seek to write a letter of support to particularly to the Honourable Alistair Henston MP, the Minister for Skills and Training, but also a number of local MPs, federal and state, to indicate Council's strong support. And note in the report there is 2 letters of support, one from Interreach and one from Murray Irrigation Limited.
Thanks, Phil. Does anybody have any questions in relation to this? Right. Anybody like to move the motion? To second the motion.
We'd at least like the ones to go to university better.
Councillor Platt, would you like to speak to the motion?
Through you, Mayor, I think this is a very worthy commitment to council to get involved with. I think it's an example of the community working together in a manner that adds value to the whole community. I think the council should be proud to support a motion at this stage. It's very, very
Thank you. Councillor Connell, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a very good motion. Straightforward.
Anybody that wishes to speak to it? Yeah, so all those in favour? Against? Carried. 11.2, Mayor, Councillor and General Non-Implementing.
A monthly report that comes out that just outlines those meetings that have been attended to by the mayor, the general manager, and other councillors. So take it as read. Obviously, this covers the January period, the month of January. So there's not probably as many as there would be in future months.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Someone like to move the report? Councillor Moore, do we have a seconder? Councillor Horns? All those in favour? Aye. 11.3 resolution.
Maximum report, Madam Mayor, with and councillors with regards to those resolutions of council that are still outstanding and those that have closed in the last period. And there was a running tally of those resolutions of council that have been that are still outstanding and that have also been carried out and implemented. Currently, for the 2020-2021 financial year, 203 have been resolved and 199 of those are closed. And this financial year, 141 have been resolved and 125 closed.
Does anybody have any questions? Or would somebody like to? Councillor Bobby. Robbie, do you have any questions? Would you like to speak? Anyone wish to speak against it? All those in favour? Aye, carried. 11.4, investments and reserves report.
As at the 31st of January, the council had 46.6 million in term deposits and cash in bank. This sits within our range over the past 12 months, which is 44 million through to 49 million. Our funds increased during the month by 750,000. So this was due to funding and infrastructure grants. The recommendations are there in the paper, and we'll take the paper as read, and we have several members of our accounting team here. Do you have any questions?
Thanks. So, on that note, do we have any questions in relation to the investment and reserves report? Questions? Anyone would like to move the report? Councillor Collins, would you like to second the report? Councillor Fogarty? Councillor Collins, anything you'd like to? All those in favour? Quarterly budget review status.
So each quarter we will present council with an update on our budget and also the forecast through to the end of the financial year, and it will include a forecast and any variations that we've seen for that quarter on the budget. So our projected forecast at the end of this financial year is a deficit of 591,000, and that's including, I can't read in the mask, excluding capital grants. In relation to the reserves, the forecast is that we'll see a decline in our reserves from 46 million down to 30 million. In relation to our general fund, unrestricted, that's from 16 mil down to 8 million. So this is really just highlighting the fact, that we have continued pressure on our general fund and just the careful management of that going forward. I'll take the paper as read, with a comprehensive review in there of all the changes that have happened throughout the quarter in the budget. You'll see they're all listed there, that all the variations are. And we also refer Charlie and Jacinta here to answer any questions.
Thanks. Do we have any questions from?
Well, it's just a comment, Madam Mayor. When we look at page 65, and as the Director of Corporate Services has stated, we are now looking at significant deficit in the budget, where the budget was proposed, we were hopeful for a very close break-even point, or a slight surplus. And given that the previous council had suggested that we were going to look at a 10% reduction in overall in the budget, that we were going to try to find savings of 10%, this appears to be a very disappointing result.
Do we have a mover? Going up to move.
No, he's got a question.
Through you, Madam Mayor, as a new council, with only sort of two councillors from the previous council and 7 new ones, we've recently appointed an audit and risk committee, which we haven't had plenty of meetings, we just haven't had one of those yet. It's always difficult for an incoming committee of any nature to pick up something that's in train. When is it proposed that the new audit and risk committee would meet, and we've then done some study where we go from here? I respect Councillor Fogarty's comments about previous council trying to find a 10% efficiency saving. And these are issues that we have inherited and we need to be able to follow up on. So my question in simple terms is, when would we meet and when would we have some input into the process going forward?
And through Mr. Madam Mayor, beg your pardon. I'll have it fly up. In answer to the question around the audit risk and improvement committee, we need to go through a recruitment process for that, and there is a report in this month's council meeting to look at the audit risk and improvement committee commencement. And that would, once members are appointed, that will be within the next 2 months, just seeing that there is a number of things to look into, and there's a audit plan to undertake. In terms of responding to the comments from there has been somewhat 5% of savings found in the financial year just adopted. Unfortunately, with this, the move to the quarterly budget review statement for the end of December being a 590,000 deficit, the predominant cause of that is an increase in depreciation of 670,000, which wasn't foreseen during the financial year. So if that hadn't have taken place, we would actually be in a better position at the bottom line. But yeah, so the majority of changes within the quarterly budget review statement are a lot of moves around which have a net zero effect on the bottom line, but that $670,000 of depreciation is a year.
Through the mayor.
Could I just ask, on that page 65, the income from rates and annual charges has remained the same. Now, originally the budget was set at a 2% rate increase. Is that figure, or is that the 0.70?
So the 0.7 is proposed by IPART for the next financial year. The budget is always adopted with the 2% rate increase factored in. And so this is a reconciliation against the actuals of the budget and making a forecast for where we're going to be in the financial year this year.
So I'm sorry, that remains at 2 until the end of the financial year and then goes to 1. Thank you.
Question. $671,000. I'm just a little bit confused. So this is depreciation, obviously. So how is that set? Now, is that the 104% that we've been talking about, the part of the 9.8?
It might be better if I got one of the accounting staff to talk Madam Mayor, around how depreciation is. I think it's based on the realisation of new assets into this financial year, which has changed the depreciation, but probably Murray can give a better explanation.
With the depreciation, right, we look at the asset base, and based on the recommendation of the useful life of the look at it, the depreciation, obviously we depreciate from manually, it's not by a system. The system is what council has, right? So we depreciate it. Suffice it to say that in 1920 we had a big revaluation and it went up. So that means that the depreciation is impacted, it goes up. Now when council adopted in May 2021 the budget, right? It was not looking at June because in May everything has been presented to the public and it was adopted. It's only in June that the committees and our staff in finance take the figures of all the work in progress and place it into the fixed asset register. So in the budget, when it was projected the depreciation on an asset base which is less than. So at 30th of June, there is no depreciation of this new asset.
but it starts the 1st of July and it kicks on. And when it happens, and then we pass the budget, we see that the actual is much more than what has been predicted for. So when we review the budget, December or September, right, every quarter, we have to factor in that in actual fact, it has gone on, and we have to report it to you and to the world at large that it has gone on. Based on the useful life, it's going on. I have you for that also that in February 2021, it was factored with prediction, right, from our financial accountant. We had a forecast, but it was not sure that that 600 was going to go in because it has to be confirmed to the finance person when we are projecting, we're not over projecting, right? So that 600 was kept, right? Because unsure of the fact that it will reach the fixed asset register, right? And start negotiating. So that 600 was kept. And it was not included in the forecast, of the 21-23. That doesn't explain why. Thank you.
So where is the $671,000 out of spend? It's just.
Yeah, and just a comment, you know, it seems odd to me that
We're spending $671,000 right now.
yeah,
Do we have to spend $671,000?
comment.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I'll probably on the other side of Mara's discussion from the engineering side of it. So ultimately, the depreciation is an amount that council should be putting into the renewal of its assets. It does hit the income statement, but it's not physical money. And it's when we do the capital works that we spend the money. So ultimately what we're saying there is that council's asset renewal should be, rather than 9.2 million, should be 9.9 million. That would give us an asset renewal ratio of 100%. We wouldn't be looking at changing with that new figure. We wouldn't be looking at changing our capital works. Our capital works are set for the year. It is more making sure that the future council is sustainable and is covering its asset renewal. Council must be able to fund that capital works asset renewal some way, and the depreciation provides that amount.
So that money will go into an account. It's not necessarily spent.
No, it doesn't even go into an account. It sort of goes in there, sits in there as an expenditure for council in the income statement. Then at the final statements, when we find our cash amount on hand, it would then impact on that cash on hand. So it is an important part of, especially as we go into the budget process, is that there are the two parts of it. Definitely financial people talk more about how the statements come together. The first part, which is this income statement, and then there's cash at hand, and they'll ultimately go up and down based on sort of what that depreciation is. But definitely out of it, yeah, we're not looking at already as projects that have been capitalised and it's come through in this QBRS. It's a lot where you're going to then go out and spend 600,000. So it's
More budgetary than an actual.
it's important, but it's more budgetary.
Right, just
It's an accounting treatment, but we're not proposing to spend any more on capital activity in the budget, and that's reflected. There is a number of adjustments being made which are reasonably routine. In this December, if you see on page 67 and 68, that's where you see the actual money going out in capital activity in the budget.
no, you're right. We just need to pause the live streaming for a moment. That's where there's a bit of static and whatnot going on, so we just need to pause for a moment for him to do what he does best.
Check out the streaming to see how it's made some changes.
Councillors, you ready? So picking up where we left off, do we have any other questions? No, so are we looking for a mover of the report? Somebody has to do that. Do you wish to speak? Nobody speaking against the motion. All those in favour? carried. 11.6, consideration of superannuation for council.
The Local Government Amendment Act has made it available for councillors to receive superannuation. This previously wasn't available to councillors, sorry. But in order for councillors to receive this payment, you must make a resolution in open council for councillors to receive superannuation. So our previous councillors, we haven't had superannuation, but with the new Amendment Act, this is now available for you guys to discuss and decide which way you would like to go. The superannuation rate would be for 2022-2023, 10.5%, and that will slowly increase to 15% by 2025. If approved, the approximate cost for the 22-23 financial year would be around 10,000. Questions? We have recommended to keep the status quo at this stage, but this is up to councillors to discuss, not to pay superannuation. For councillors to discuss.
Questions?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just want to clarify, if I can, current term, are you talking about the current term of councillors at the 2 years final?
I do believe that if you want to attract younger people to council as councillors in the future, then the superannuation rule needs to perhaps come into force. I think in terms of myself, I have a full-time job. I'm losing my superannuation while I sit here working for council. Now I choose to do certain charity work during the year. However, I think the amount, I think I read last night that all it would amount to $10,000 as a cost to council.
Do you have an actual question?
Sorry, no. Sorry. Yep, sorry.
No, that's fine. We just
The question is, the question is, it is only a cost of $10,000 for the term or for the financial year for this financial year? 22, when it becomes, yes. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to whoever, how long would this take to implement in the future if council wanted to implement it? Is there a period of time that it has to be pre-implemented?
No, I don't see that there would be a huge time cost, it's more of a
Just that, this is, as Ms. Campbell has said, we've just put this recommendation in as a, maintaining the status quo because no one else has had it in the past. Recommendation is to not implement it. So, wishes to implement it, then a councillor would just need to move a different motion, which would probably just be the same as the recommendation, except to delete the word not. And so that's the way you could move forward on this if you were inclined to want to implement that. And as said, it's not a lot of difference to us one way or the other. We certainly don't have a strong view, and it's very much up to the councillors and what they see.
I'm interested in your comment about it being for not available to the past councillors. It's not that they had chosen, it wasn't allowed through the law.
There's been a change in the Act to allow this to take place. So first opportunity this council is actually
More questions? Would somebody like to move the recommendation or a different?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move a different
motion.
different motion. I'd just like to remove the word not, the council of top payment of superannuation
We have a second for that. Councillor Bird.
I'd like to speak to it if I can. I agree with the comments by Councillor Bird. Many councillors actually do take time off from their jobs. Opportunity is actually a superannuation. And if we want to attract people to council going forward, I think that we actually need to adopt them.
Councillor Bird. Anybody wish to speak against? Motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would hope we are not trying to attract councillors because we're paying them money. I would hope we're attracting councillors because they've got a community interest and they want to serve their community. I'm a bit ambivalent about super. It's not going to be much because we don't pay councillors much. So I'm for the motion, but I just don't want to get it where we're trying to attack people because we're paying them a good note because we're not. Councils that are committed to serving their community.
Through Madam Mayor. That's a relevant point, and I didn't actually mean attracting councillors for their financial reward, just making sure that they're not actually missing opportunities that are available.
Anybody else like? No? Okay, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. What's on signage?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So council has received a development application for the installation of a sign along Davidson Street in the north area. There's a layout elevation of the sign on page 94 of the business paper. Generally, the sign is 2 metres wide by 3 metres high and is provided for upcoming events as the name, what's on signage. The applicant is council, and under council's development control plan, any development application by council must be put out for advertising as well as brought up to council for resolution. So there's quite a number of development applications that start to do facilitation, but whenever a council is the applicant, those development applications would always come up to council for a resolution and open transparency around what activities council is undertaking. As part of the evaluation of the application, it was sent to Transport for New South Wales as an external reference, referral, as Davidson Street is part of the state highway network. There was no objections raised by Transport for New South Wales, and no objections raised by internal staff. So council are recommending council staff are recommending that council approve the development application, subject to the conditions included in the business paper.
Questions? Councillor Connell move, and seconder. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I think it made it. It's pretty straightforward.
Councillor Hutton, is there anything you'd like to say about? No. Does anybody else wish to speak? That's fine. Anything else we've got? Can be good. Beautiful. Right. So
Just need to name all of the councillors we've got.
going around the room. So Councillor Taylor, Councillor Burge. Councillor Connell, four, Councillor Horns, four, Councillor Foggy, four, yes. Four. Nice. Carried. And well done, Michelle. 11.8, lodging of pecuniary interest returns.
This report is highlighting council's obligations under the Code of Conduct to lodge their pecuniary interest returns. They're going to be due by the 4th of March. They'll be tabled at the March council meeting and also displayed on the website.
Any questions? Councillor Connell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are we able to get the Word document emailed out to us of this document?
It was last night, so you might have missed that.
I haven't been through every email this morning.
Understand that completely.
Any other questions? No, do we have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Moore seconded, Councillor Horns. All those in favour? 11.9, 11 Edward River Council Growth Management Strategy. Morning, Michelle.
Good morning. So following on from our discussions in the council induction sessions, and also following on from the Sefton report, it became very clear that council was seeking to grow the population. And the target for that is 19,800 people by 2050. And of course, the issues around that are that there's not a lot of housing in our region to cope with that sort of population growth, and of course, more jobs. So one of the things that the previous council have been working on, as you know, is revitalising the town. But the recommendation here is to develop a growth strategy so that we're all on the same page for the next 30 years and looking at where that growth should occur and where that where the people are going to live, how they're going to live, where the jobs are going to be, what the jobs, where they'll be located, and how we can revitalise our town in terms of health and education facilities to take that growth. So I've done some benchmarking with some of the other places in New South Wales and Victoria that actually instigate these growth plans. Had a huge amount of success in Victoria in using these plans to actually facilitate growth in areas and then going to government and saying this is what we want to do. Some costings. So, and in particular, I've been looking at, if you want to have a look at a really good version of a growth management strategy, if you look at Hot Harbour. I know it's a much bigger area, but it's a really great example of what they're doing with their growth strategies. But the elements that we would be looking at in Edward River, our growth strategy would lead to a lot of more community consultation to make sure that this is supply and demand analysis, looking at residential land strategy, which is already on the table scheme, rural residential land strategies, that's already in place, but we need to review that and start to implement it. We have an industrial land strategy, and we would review that to make sure that the growth was in line with the residential land. A CB urban development plan focusing on revitalising the underutilized assets, so that's some of that discussion. Reduction questions around using, some of the beautiful buildings that are here and underutilized. Looking at the airport master plan, the airport and residential air park and business park. The McLean Beach master plan, which is already on our table as well. We've got some funding for that. And the Edward River Council investment attraction and retention policy, just to review that to make sure it aligns with the direction that we're going. And really what we're trying to do is make sure that when we set our capital works budgets for each year, that the development occurs where it's best fit. For example, there's brand new subdivision about 7 in the newspaper this week. We would seek to support those residential developments and through a plan that everyone would get on. Financial implementation. I recommend that we use the proceeds from the recent sale of the Saleyard land, Saleyard's road land, I should say. The $33,000 that we allocated to the McLean Beach master plan, which we received a couple of weeks ago, some COVID response money, and $30,000, which is funded by Mark Amari's team to complete the residential plan strategy. And that's budgeted for next year. I should be hearing that. That's already on the radar. Any questions?
Michelle, Councillor Moore.
Madam Mayor, Michelle, have you considered, or have you already maybe put a cash projection through for the 227,000 that you're from the sale of the land? How you would break that down to where you spend that money, and would it be reporting, or would it be operational, or would it be? That's a good question. So what I've done is benchmarked what other places have spent, and then looked at the size of our municipality compared to on each of these plans. But I could further more detailed information that I could US with what each of those plans. And I guess it seems like it's just a select a group of plans, but really they need to speak to each other. We've done a lot of strategies, a lot of master plans, and they do link. But sometimes the work's being done on one master plan and on another master plan, and they're not sort of moving in one direction. And so these are sort of like chapters, I guess you would call it, of an overall master plan for the area. And you really can't have one without the other. So this particular costing has been based on Coffs Harbour and shrunk down to what we need. And because we've already got a couple of those elements really only need to be reviewed, we should there's for an actual about 300.
Yes, I do. Yes, and look, I totally agree with the intent of the recommendation, and it's similar to Councillor Moore's question. It's around the sales, the funds from the sale of the land. And I was of the view that those funds had been earmarked to redevelop Wright Drive as part of the overall airport redevelopment. I may have not got that correct, but I'd just like that clarified.
Yeah, sorry, okay. Yeah, the funds were unallocated, and we definitely want to make sure that they go to, because the funds were generated through development, that they go back into development. In terms of Wright Brothers Drive, sorry, councillors, that's been involved with more the sale of the land within the airport itself, and councillors, Councillor did go through an expression of interest process last year regarding the sale of land. So there was more of a direct link between that process and therefore providing Wright Brothers Drive as infrastructure to access those lands, and also benefits for the airport in general, rather than from the loss of land along Sale Yard Road itself, which that were developed by the former Deputy Council some time ago. So yeah, it's more of that, so not directly, and I can fully understand and respect the council to be very clear on this, but ultimately the funds that have been generated through that sale directly not allocated, but with an intent to support development, and so using them for this type of project. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
For the recommendation, Councillor Clapham, seconder, Councillor Burge. Councillor Clapham, would you like to speak?
I would like to talk to this motion because I think it's very important. Firstly, I'd like to compliment Michelle and the council staff for putting it up, and I agree wholeheartedly with the process of the sale of an asset, utilising the funds to develop further assets, and I think it's a process that we should look at very seriously in the future. I did spend quite a bit of time going through Michelle's report, and it's excellent. I think if we work properly, and this is a little bit of a statement, I apologize, but it needs a little bit of refining. The concept and everything behind it and the motive behind it is excellent. It's a direction that I feel council should follow in the future. So thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you for putting it up.
I apologise, it's completely appropriate. For the debate, absolutely.
Councillor Burge, did you have something you wish to say? Okay, all those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
I'm sure some people, when they see another plan, why are they wasting their money on another plan? Well, this is an extremely important plan. It's going to pull all the other plans together. I mean, any council had a rural residential strategy, but didn't speak to any of the other plans. And this is very important to start getting all the plans speaking to each other. Well, they don't speak, but tail into each other and link into each other, so that it makes it so much easier to pull a plan off the shelf and say to the politician, this is our plan, how much money can you give us? So very much supportive.
Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, Michelle. 11.10, Government New South Wales Special Conference Attendance and Nomination of the
Matt, this is quite an important conference that councillors from all over New South Wales attend on an annual basis. It's somewhat disrupted by the COVID issues, where we've had several of these historically remotely. This is the first opportunity to get all councillors together into Sydney to discuss some of the major issues that are affecting the local government sector, and also to move a series of motions and carry resolutions that will call on the state government to undertake certain activities and/or form positions of. So it's not so much of a traditional conference where you might have a number of talking and discussion points and keynote speakers. It's more very much down to TTACs. There is some comprehensive business papers that have been produced. They're online, and there also councillors have been sent links to those. And there's a number of motions that are being proposed, which look to be very much along the lines of where council would like to support. There is a recommendation to nominate the mayor as a voting delegate. The voting delegate can be nominated and just carried by the council every 12 months, but you can also do it for the term of the council. And as a general rule, there's also a recommendation to approve the attendance of the deputy mayor at the local government New South Wales State Conference or special conference when the mayor cannot attend, including voting delegations. Unfortunately, at this point in time, the mayor and deputy mayor can't attend on the 28th to the 2nd of March, 28th and 3rd to the 2nd of March. So there could be a view that a councillor may wish to attend. To come along and meet their colleagues from other councils in Sydney, and that could very much be part of this resolution. At this stage, the council does not have any motions for consideration, but it can certainly, in line for the next conference, local government New South Wales can consider some motions to put up. Yeah, so that's it's a very important conference, probably one of the most important ones that councillors can attend on behalf of and put some motions forward on behalf of the local government sector.
Question.
So with your recommendation, you just mentioned that can be adopted for the term, or is this the term, or is this for just this?
This is for this conference. I should have omitted to mention that ordinarily these conferences are held in November every year, but because of the COVID situation, it was moved to a special conference in February. So the next one will be in November. And we'll put a similar report up to that to nominate the mayor and deputy and to also for councillors to put forward. We would like to attend. Several councils will send every councillor. Others will just send the mayor and general manager. Others will send the mayor and deputy mayor. So it's very much up to councillors as to what they want to see. This also does assist with part of councillors' professional development plans as well. Yeah, I'll happy to answer any further questions.
Thanks, Mayor. I would like to move an alternative motion, and it's probably in relation to point 3, point 1 and 2 remain the same. Point 3, that an invitation be extended to other councillors that, should they wish to attend, that council would support their attendance. Like the General Manager said, these conferences, particularly the New South Wales conference, can be very advantageous conference to attend. And clearly our new slogan or catchcry is to be open for business. Then open for business we need to be. And we need to be out there selling ourselves. And this is a great opportunity to do exactly that. I know in the past when conferences, particularly the New South Wales conference has been attended, ministers usually make sure that they're also available, and it's an enormous opportunity to be able to get into the minister's office and have serious conversations about what we've got happening in Edward River. So hence my rationale for the adjustment to the motion.
Second.
Would be advantageous, just a question, to seek the nominations if those councillors are so named, they would have further weight, sending those individual councillors to the conference. If you still wish to consider it, then obviously keep it as general as Councillor Fogarty has outlined. That there might be some difference to indicate. I can leave it as is. It was just.
I'm unavailable for this one through family commitments. Being that I've got a daughter staying with me, I've got staying for 2 years. Okay. But I would commend it to any available councillor that could go. It is a very important networking chance and chance to see ministers.
I'm just asking where we're at. Sorry, through you, Mayor. I was referring to whether the general manager is looking for amendment to that motion.
So I'm generally amendments to motions.
Sorry.
But that's okay. I understand the intent, and that is that it could be within at the moment we've got a motion moved by Councillor Fogarty that says an invitation is generally extended out to all councillors from Edward River Council to attend the conference. I'm just simply suggesting that you may want to name some of those councillors to be approved to attend that conference by the council as a further motion, amendment to the motion if council so wishes. If you'd like a bit of a time to think about it, then it could stay as is. That's fine. It certainly would prevent you from going. But adding the names of those conference delegates would further be supported by council.
Councillor Fellows.
Yeah, through, look, I was of the belief that, well, February is only 200,000. I thought the conference was for a week, which I'm being able to attend. But yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I'll
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Fawns has indicated that Councillor Fawns would be available to attend and would like to attend. So possibly then we can remove the part that both the Mayor and Deputy Mayor are unable, and that we authorise the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Fawns to attend the conference on our behalf.
So just for the purpose of completeness, if I can, perhaps it's point 2, approve the attendance of the Deputy Mayor at the Local Government New South Wales Special, and Councillor Fawns. At the Local Government New South Wales Special Conference, remove when the Mayor cannot attend. And the Deputy Mayor will then have voting delegation. And the 3 is notes that the Mayor is unable to attend.
Just one issue. I was advised and made contact with the, because I have a cut-off date to register. That has passed. So I just need to alert the councillors who will be attending. You won't be a voting delegate. You'll still be able to go to conference. I'll check today if I can get around that.
I've got
My answer, yes. Oh, good. Okay.
I mentioned the challenge, Greg's right to raise this, but I mentioned the challenges of having a meeting not until the 22nd of February. And he said it's not normally done, but that he may be willing to accept a late voting delegate.
So we're looking for a movement now. We're happy with the wording.
No, we've got a movement. That's Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Connell.
Yeah.
So just need to debate, speak for and against.
All right. For, against, Councillor Cotton has something.
No, I Oh, that's all.
Oh,
I was anticipating.
All those. Right, we're all sorted. 11:11, response to letter to audit office.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, there was on the 2nd of December council meeting where council adopted financial statements. In the last term of council, there was some concern raised about one of the management letters was to be confidential. And so the resolution of the council is on page 129, that a letter be forwarded to the audit office requesting the rationale behind ensuring the management letter was discussed in closed council and expressing the concerns of councillors and ratepayers that this was not in the general forum. Well, we've simply received a response back from the audit office, and I just would like to table that in the council to note to the council meeting to note that the response has come.
Questions? We have a move for the recommendation. No, I speak against it. All those in favour? Audit Risk and Improvement Committee report.
At the commencement of each council term, we need to appoint an audit risk and improvement committee. Council has already nominated 2 councillors to sit on that committee, which is Councillor Bellows and Councillor Clapham. The current independent members are Peter Ray, who is also the chair, Graham Bradley, and John. Sorry, John, if you're listening. We recommend that we invite the current independent committee members to review their term alongside with this existing council term. So that's also in accordance with our terms of reference for the committee to go along with each council term. Also to invite additional committee members to apply for existing vacancies. We currently have up to 4 independent vacancies that we can appoint up to 4 independent members on the ARIC. So we currently have 3. So we have 1 vacant if we wish to fill that, and to also fill any vacancies in the event that the current independent members choose not to restand. And we also recommend that the member fees to be set at 1,100 per meeting, and the chair to receive 1,500 per meeting. This is an exclusive of cost.
Questions?
Sorry.
With the independent members, do you restrict it or do you advertise for people to apply? I was wondering how you go about it.
Question, it would be both. Yeah, we can tap community members on the shoulder, encourage them to apply, and also to advertise to the community as well.
Madam Mayor, I assume you've already approached the 3 previous independent members.
And so and there's been a meeting being conducted with the chair, Peter Ray, and also the 3 members have been consulted with the process going forward and encouraged them to restand.
Now I'll be going. And at this stage, have they indicated that they would continue their term or accept their positions?
I don't have anything definitive.
No, they haven't made that indication. We haven't been strong in terms of saying we wish them to reapply, only because there needs to be a resolution to council to do that. But we have, and essentially the 3 independent committee members are currently at the moment drafting up their self-assessment of how the ARIC committee performed. So that was the nature of the meeting. But we did get some indications that there was some willingness, should council want it, for them to reapply, but we haven't asked them formally in any way, because it has to be advertised, but we certainly are happy to approach them directly if council wishes to do that. If there's further people in the community we think would be worthwhile members, independent members of the ARIC, we would certainly tap them on the shoulder and point them to the application process.
Pretty man now. Speaking on my behalf, and not council fellows, I wouldn't deign to do that. My position would be, I would very much like the existing committee and to remain if they wish so. But I do think this is important that we have continuity in this process, and that's been highlighted by some previous issues that have been raised at this meeting.
Do we have a mover for the recommendation?
I'd like to move the recommendation, Madam Mayor, and to be so bold as to suggest that there may be a very adequate person in this room who may like to join the ARIC committee as an independent member of that committee, and possibly that person could be approached to do so.
Very good. Would you like to second the motion with the ladder on the end? Second. Councillor Bogley, is there anything else you'd like to?
No.
add? Councillor Connell, is there anything? you would like to
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anybody wish to speak against the motion? Right. All those in favour? Eleven point 13 delivery program.
This is our quarterly report, giving council an update on our progress towards the issues operating plan. So I'll take the paper as read, and the attachment to the paper details all the projects and their status. But a quick summary: 71% of the projects are on track, 11% have been completed, 13% yet to be commenced, and only one project has been stopped, and that was due to COVID restrictions. So that was unavoidable, unfortunately. With the 71% of projects on track, I know it seems like a lot, being 6 months into the year, but a lot of these projects do track over the full year. So you will see that about a month of projects closed out in the last quarter, and that's a difficult
Excellent. Questions?
Yeah, well, I've got a few questions in relation to some of the activities that have not commenced, and just wanted to know how they were going. One in particular was the open space strategy, because I see that very much links to the growth strategy that we're proposing, that many of those open spaces could be utilised in that growth strategy for redevelopment. Some of the other questions were around the information guide. Have we commenced the council information guide that was set to be done also? And I believe, from my observation of the report, as yet has not been commenced. Along with the continuous improvement plan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll provide information around the open space. So, for background, Council has undertaken in previous years open space and public space strategies, and what was highlighted in there as well. So, Council has a lot of that open space, public space, community land that is utilised. There's also an amount of land that is not utilised. Community land, public land that the council's inherited over the years as part of subdivisions and that, and very much reason to council to review that and work through what it wants to do with that land. So definitely it's one that the development services area has been thinking of, and with the growth strategy that it will roll up into that, because it is part of that, part of growth, and if through the process council will be looking at converting that into residential land, that'd be part of that. So has been thought of once there was the thought of working through that growth strategy, that sort of been our thinking around that point. So definitely still on the horizon, but we think that's work.
I'll answer the next one on the information guide. Yes, they haven't been commenced. They're scheduled to commence the third quarter. So they're not behind, they're just not due to commence yet. So we'll commence them over the next 3 months.
Any other questions, councillors? Right, do we have a mover for the recommendation?
I'm happy to move it.
Councillor Foggy, we have a second one. Councillor Vaughan. Councillor Sally, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just to congratulate the staff on the work that has been achieved. And yep, we'll look forward to those things being achieved, particularly the growth strategy, because it is critically important and does have a significant link to the growth strategy.
Anybody wish to speak against the motion? No. All those in favour? Development 11.14, on right, development services report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the monthly report from Development Services regarding activity relating to the planning process, DAs and other planning activities. It also includes information for the ranges, local laws in terms of companion animals and parking, etc. In the report, the main items there is around with the value of applications determined. So councils will see for January 22, it's down from a similar figure than in January 21. But we did note that period for 2021 was higher than normal. So the values of what's been determined is similar, but just the amount that's been determined. The processing times noted in there that they're in line with the requirements for processing times for VAs and various activities. In terms of companion animals, that's quite they're seeing 10 animal species surrendered to councils. That's probably the what we would normally deal with. So it's definitely around those. Definitely councils staff's intent to work with the property owners, work with the animal owners, to be able to release the animals back to the owners. Sometimes that will come with conditions, or if we can't do that, to rehome them. And that's been fairly successful in that regard. So yeah, thank you, Mayor. Any questions?
Questions for Mark, councillor Moore?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me, Mark. Did we have a monthly drive? When did we have the last monthly drive? I guess you could.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Moore. Yeah, so we have a regular program for monthly tripping. I'm not aware of when that was last occurred, so I'll follow that up. We have had over the last 12, 18 months, we have had some challenges around what will be a fairly regular been a very successful program around home. So that sort of activity in action is probably caught up in different regulations. But I'll just take out a notice and just confirm and then the next one will.
Any other questions? Would you like to move the continuation? Do we have a second? Maybe Councillor Moore, is there anything else you'd like to add? Councillor Fogarty?
No.
Would you speak against the motion? All those in favour? Major projects report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and just another regular report. Just regarding the major projects, so these are the grant funding projects that council is working through. There's in the background, just a list of the projects the grant funding the council's received. Also attached to the report is just a travel-wide reporting on progress for those projects. So the highlights out of that is the Maud Road ceiling. The project is continuing to go along very well. About 1.6 k is still to do for the ceiling the 6 kilometre and will be done this financial year. The civic precinct, the work on the estates building is proceeding very well. They just got a clean up of that. And hopefully both staff and councils will be able to move into that. There's some questions about some finishes on that project, so we'll work through those questions. The town hall continues to be a risk for council, not in terms of the work. The quality of work is very good. I was on site there yesterday, had a bit of a look through. They're just continuing on around delivery of some major parts, like lifts and that. So still, the contractors still having supply delivery issues, and that's coming through to the completion of the project. I'm comfortable that the contractor is doing all they can in terms of doing that. So it's not a question of the contractor not fulfilling their requirements. It is more things outside their control. Also noted in there, the wearing gardens amenities and rotunda work at wearing gardens. So there's now been council's accepted quotations for that, and there'll be some great projects to get going. North Denny Rest Stop, there's some landscaping work that we will be doing out there, and also an amenity squat and barbecue to be delivered and installed in those areas. The riverfront, to see the pontoons, which got a lot of work. We've got a lot of use, sorry, not a lot of work, a lot of use over the recent fishing classic and that. So there's some operational things that we're still looking at with those pontoons. One of the questions that has been raised is just around a pontoon and how far they are sticking out into the water. So one of the requirements of that project, in line with council's disability inclusion action plan, is that they needed to be accessible. So ultimately, the level of the pontoon we were after, being much lower than the existing fixed pontoon, resulted in a grade between that pontoon and back on the bank. The fixed pontoon is meant to have a grade. We really needed that to comply with the requirements under the disability action plan and relevant standards. So I admit I was a bit surprised when I saw it sticking out into the river, but that's the reason. And look, that's something we will monitor. It is something that in the future, if it does cause issues with river usage, we can refurbish it to bring it closer to the bank. But just highlight that, yeah, the reason why we would be having to deal with that matter. Memorial Park amenities, there's a report later on in the council business paper regarding Memorial Park. you, Madam Mayor. Any questions?
Questions, councillor Mark, councillor Corbett?
Yes, and look, congratulations to the staff on the work that's been done because it's absolutely fantastic. And in particular, the pontoons being in place for many years, access to the river for people with a disability has been an absolute challenge. So to now have this, I know we frequently take people from Kurrajong to out on the houseboat, and to get them access to the houseboat in the past has been a nightmare. So to have this facility, congratulations, it's been a fantastic project. One question, I note that there is some dollars still available in the riverfront budget, and I've had comments put to me by some of our ratepayers that we need additional rubbish bins along the river wall. So I'm just wondering if some of the dollars that haven't been expended, if they could be expended in terms of additional rubbish bins, and possibly looking at some of the posts where dog excrement bags could be located, so that we could encourage people. Now, we do encourage people to pick up after their dogs, but if we had some facilities there, that might be a little further encouragement to do so. But yeah, great work, well done.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Definitely we've had people in the community who have come and spoken to staff around the same issue, and we've definitely taken that on board. Our plan of attack at the moment is that we have, Council may be aware of the stylised cover we have for bins, and there's a couple there in the pole area. So we do have some of them that we can refurbish, so looking at being able to refurbish them and them out, and also if funds available for it, definitely want to address those concerns that have been raised to councils as well as to staff.
Councillor Moore, did you have a question? Any other questions?
Sorry, for you, Mark, the 1.6 million for the Memorial Park, that's a future development, is it?
Through amendment, so that is funding that council has at the moment under the showgrounds stimulus funding. The funding is for the rebuild of the amenities block up near the P&A, which is the later report. It's also for roads and car park area within the ground. So you'll see in that area between number 1 and number 3 oval, as well as the roads that swing around the P&A building, and also as a contribution towards a project to refurbish the cricket DNA club room area. So yeah, so that's been successful in that, which is a fantastic fantastic grant funding program, and definitely a facility that will be able to have that $1.6 million and actually get a lot of benefit for that area.
We have a mover for the recommendation. Councillor Fogarty, do you have a second? Councillor Connell,
I just certainly noted the congratulations to staff for the effort that they have put in to complete the projects.
Thank you. Councillor Connell, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, it's, yeah, it's all council voting.
100%. No one wishes to speak against the motion, so all those in favour? Aye. 11.16 capital work.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a report we provide to council every 3 months. So whereas the previous report was our major projects which are grant funded, this report is regarding capital works, which is council funded works as part of the annual operational plan. So this is very much around road reconstructions, resealing, reshedding gravel roads, and projects like that. So again, there's just an attachment in there regarding traffic light system on how the projects are going. Major ones in there is in terms of the road reconstruction, and again, there's a report later on around Wellington Street. So council, we're looking at doing the reconstruction of the footpath, curb and gutter and road shoulder along Wellington Street. So that's between Hartford and Henry Street along the school. Very highly used areas for pedestrians, so I'm very keen to get into that. Council staff have been in contact and working well with the bus company and the school. It's going to be a 12 to 16 week project, so there's no good time. Things about doing it in front of, doing it during school holidays, which I fully appreciate, but there's no school holidays that are of that length, so better just to get in with it. But that interaction with the school is going well. The gravel resheeting program is being undertaken at the moment and on track to be completed by the end of the financial year, as well as rehabilitation. Continue to have some issues around buildings, just with terms of availability of trades people. That's something that the council staff are managing. Also included in here is the plant replacement program. We are undertaking a plant review at the moment, just commencing that, and we'll report that to council through the briefing sessions. But we are having a lot of challenges in the plant replacement this year, just through availability of plant use, to the point where we've had orders and actually had those orders cancelled. So we're happy to wait, but we're actually finding that orders are being cancelled. So we're just reviewing that at the moment to provide further. Thank you, Madam.
Thanks, Mark. Do we have any questions? Right. Somebody like to move the recommendation? Councillor Collins, do we have a seconder? Councillor Thorns, Councillor Collins, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anything you'd like to add? Thank you. Speak. Nobody to speak against the motion. All those in favour? Right. Motion. Questions with notice? Questions without notice?
I've worked hard to try and work out how to get this into this council meeting, so I'm making a mockery of questions without notice. I'd like to know the council why the Lantern Festival was so successful, why the staff did such a good job, why so many people attended the event, and why are we going to have it again next year?
You can have questions without notice anytime you like.
I'll have to answer the question for Councillor Dix. Sorry, Councillor. Look, it was a raging success. I think it exceeded a number of expectations. We thought it would be popular, but it was very much down to the efforts of a lot of staff within the organisation. I think it was just a bit of a sweet spot around. Everyone's pretty much pining for some sort of community event, and it happened at the right time, and people came along. So we'll definitely be holding this again next year. And there's also a suggestion within the budgetary process to hold a Christmas one prior to Christmas as well. So, which I believe has been undertaken in previous years. So, very much the tourism and events and economic development team were the head, and they've said their director of corporate. Michelle Cobb, who you saw today, talking about the growth plan. She heads up that team, but it was very much a lot of other areas such as parks and gardens and the operations team who supported that. So I was very very successful event.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Yeah, any other comments about Councillor Platinum's questions? No, fantastic. All right, so we'll move into confidential council, and we suggest that we have a bit of a rest stop. Relax of the brain strain. Yeah, I'll move that. Like that.
I don't know, I reckon we get Matt to just
That's when we.
stop the video. Well, but no audio. Thanks for that.
We're non-confidential council. Okay, so item 15.1, Edward River Village update and draft project. Council decided to note the Edward River Village update and draft budget report. Item 15.2. Request for quote, power and NBN supply and installation, Edward River Village, recommendation, council delegates the general manager to receive quotes and engage the facilities informing contractor for the provision of on-site power and data at the Edward River Village to a value of up to 240,000 exclusive GST. Item 15.3, civil construction, Edward River Village. The council accept the tender for the construction of the first separable portion of the civil construction of the Edward River Village development plan as submitted in tender C 2021/08, senior living precinct dwelling construction, and confirmed subsequently by the tenderer, Denny Civil for.
You should say civil construction. Apologies for that, for typo.
$1,051,275 excluding GST. Item 15.4. Contract C 2021-11A Jonathan Wellington Street shoulder reconstruction. Recommend the council accepts the tender submitted by Miller Python Civil Proprietary Limited. Jonathan Wellington Street shoulder reconstruction 2021, the lump sum tender price of $296,931 plus GST. 2. Authorise the general manager and mayor to sign and affix the final seal of the council to the contract documentation. Contract C 2021-17A, Jonathan Wellington Street shoulder reconstruction. 3. Authorise the reallocation of budget within the local road reconstruction program. 4. Delegate the contract superintendent to approve variations up to a maximum of 10% of the contract value to allow for any issues that may arise on the site. 15.5 contract C 2021-08 dwelling constructions, Edward River Village. Council 1, not accept any of the revised tenders for the construction of the first 6 dwellings in the Edward River Village development plan. 2, delegate authority to the Edward River Village Seniors Living Precinct Committee to look at further options to reduce the entry cost for residents. And 3, report back to council at a future meeting. Done. Their meeting closed at 12:17. Thanks. Construction of public amenities building Memorial Park. The council accept that Bernie B. Green construction tender submission for C 2021-14 construction of public amenities building at Memorial Park. In accordance with Clause 178(1)A of the Local Government General Regulations, authorise that the budget shortfall of $110,769.17 excluding GST is funded from savings made to the asbestos removal project and the medical centre upgrades. Authorise the general manager and mayor to sign and affix the seal of Edward River Council to the contract document for contract 2021/14 construction of public amenities building at Memorial Park. 4, authorise the contract superintendent to approve variations on the contract up to a maximum value of 10%. The council will now declare today's meeting.